This is the first video on writing linear equations. Y equals mx plus b is the slope-intercept form of a line. The m and the b are the unknowns, that if we know those, we can plug the values in for those and have the equation of a line. In the first couple of equations, you are given exactly what you need to stuff into this equation. If we have y equals mx plus b as our model, and we are given that the m is 4 and the b is 6, we're just going to keep the y there. 4 goes in for m, x stays, and 6 goes in for b, and that is your equation of a line, and you're finished. Sometimes you are asked to do the same thing, but to write it in standard form. If you saw the previous video on writing standard form from slope-intercept form, we are going to start with y equals mx plus b, and we are going to plug in the two values we know. We know m and we know b. So y is 1/2 x plus 5. And if we weren't asked to put it in standard form, we'd be finished. But the directions asked for standard form, so we need to go through the steps to get this in standard form. Remember, your standard form is ax plus by equals c. So I need to manipulate this around so it looks like this. And the first thing I need to do is get rid of fractions. Standard form does not allow any fractions. So the easy way to do that is to multiply everything by that denominator of 2. 2 times y becomes 2y. The 2's cancel out here, giving me 1x, or just x. 2 times 5 is 10. So I've gotten rid of the fraction pretty easily. The next is I need it this kind of form. And I think probably the easy way to go now is to subtract 2y from both sides, because in standard form, your x and your y need to be on the same side together, and your c, which is your plain old number, needs to go to the other side. So at the same time here, I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. What that does is that move the 10 over. This right side says x minus 2y. Over here, the 2y's cancel, and I have negative 10. If you need to, because the book says so or because your teacher says so, you could just take the left side and the right side and completely swap them around, and that is your standard form. Two ways to go on this one. One is to be very strict about it and go exactly into y equals mx plus b. Y equals m is 0, x is x, and b is 5. Of course, 0 times x is 0, so this just gives us y equals 5. You may recall that y equals 5 is a horizontal line. If it just has a y in it, it's a horizontal line. You may recall that if your slope is 0, you are dealing with a horizontal line. So when you see m equals 0, you could think, oh, it's a horizontal line, so I know it's y equals something, and what it equals is the b value. So that's just a little bit faster if you recall all this about the slope of a horizontal line is 0. All right, moving up one step with this. I'm not giving you m and b right now. I'm giving you m, and I'm giving you a random point. Keep in mind, we're plugging into y equals mx plus b. I have given you the m, I did not give you b. You got to look at this and say, well, what is this? Well, this is a point. That means this is x, and this is y. So I'm going to plug into this mx plus b and solve this for b. So y is negative 3, m is 5, x is negative 1, b is the value I don't know, but I can figure that out pretty easily right now. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. So simple little equation here, add 5 to both sides, and you have that b equals 2. You are not finished. Yes, we found out that the y-intercept is 2, but remember, you were asked to write the whole equation, so you've got to go back to this and write y equals m, which was 5, times x, plus the b value of 2 that we just found. When you write your equation, the y and the x that you used up here as numbers revert back to y and x. Don't use numbers there anymore, because this is the equation that works for all points. I just happen to give you one particular point. It didn't specify what form to put it in, so it's fine to leave it in slope-intercept form. Very similar problem. I'm going to start with y equals mx plus b. Incidentally, there's a whole other way to do this with what's called point slope form, which I don't teach, but you might learn that from another teacher or another book, and it works just fine. I just think this is a little bit faster. So I think it's a good idea to label this each time as x and y to remind you what goes in for what, and then start plugging in. Y is 5, m is -4, x is 3, b is this value I don't know. This is a simple little equation. -4 times 3 is -12. To get this b alone, I need to undo subtracting 12, which is adding 12, which gives me b equals 17. Common mistake with this method is to quit right here because you've done all this work and you think you're done, but you're not until you write y equals m that you were given earlier times x plus the b of 17 we just found. Now, you can check this by taking that point of 3 for x and 5 for y, and this better be equal. -4 times 3 is -12. -12 plus 17 is 5, and it checks. So it's not a bad idea to check because you could make an arithmetic mistake very easily. This one, I'm asking you to write the equation of the line in standard form. Well, you don't jump straight to standard form. You are still going to do this problem exactly the same way. Y equals mx plus b. In my method, when you see the directions, write an equation of a line, blah, 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 you need to start with y equals mx plus b. So label this as x, label this as y, and start plugging in. -4 for y, m is 3, x is 5, plus b. 15 plus b equals -4. Subtract 15 from both sides. So b is -19. And remember, you have to write the whole equation. So it's y equals the m, which you were given as 3x minus 19. The directions, though, say write it in standard form. So we need to reorganize this so that it's in standard form. Standard form is our ax plus by equals c. I'm going to subtract y from both sides because I like having the x positive, and add 19 to both sides at the same time. That cancels out the y's, leaves you the 19. This is 3x minus y. Those 19's cancel out. So this is the standard equation. This is the equation of a line in standard form with this information. We can check it here. We think x was 5, y was -4. So 3 times 5 is 15, minus, because that's what that is, a -4. 15 minus a -4 gives us a positive 19. Same kind of problem, but now we have a fraction slope, which just makes it a little bit harder arithmetically. We are still plugging into y equals mx plus b. This is still x. This is still y. So it's -1 equals an m of 2/3 times x of 4 plus b. Now think of the 4 as 4 over 1, which gives us 8/3 plus b equals -1. Most students just hate fractions, so what I suggest is you get rid of them. We have a denominator of 3, so multiply both sides by 3, which means you're multiplying everything by 3. 3 times -1 makes -3. These 3's cancel out, leaving you 8. Don't forget to do 3 times b, it becomes 3b. Now you have an equation to solve that does not have any fractions. Plain old subtract 8 from both sides, which gives us -11 equals 3b. Divide both sides by 3. That is your b. Then go back and write your equation. Y equals the m you were given, which is 2/3 x, either plus a -11/3 or just minus 11/3. Let's look at this last part again. If fractions don't freak you out, or if you have a calculator that works fractions and you have a teacher that lets you use a calculator, you can deal with this fraction as is. This is 8/3 plus b. Let's undo this by subtracting 8/3 from both sides. If you're using a calculator that does fractions, this is pretty easy. You just type in -1 minus 8 divided by 3, and there's your answer. If you're good with fractions and don't have a calculator, you have to think about common denominator. The common denominator is 3. 1 is the same as 3 over 3, which is a negative. -3/3 plus -8/3 is -11/3. So if you're okay with fractions, you don't have to do that multiplying everything by the common denominator.